You're looking very 90s mod.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Fred Perry shirt. Gifted to me.
Oh, okay. Okay, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong, a podcast where two exes get together and talk about lots of things. Sometimes, quite often, we talk about the Minogue sisters, Kylie and Danny, but we also talk about politics, life, philosophy, religion, culture wars.
Plants and gardening.
Plants, fly infestations, CPAP machines, hand infections, and everything else. I'm Josh, one of the hosts, and the other host is Sean. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing okay. Just a quick recap, not a CPAP recap, but just a recap. I am back from Australia after 3 weeks or so in Australia. And I feel happy that I got to go there, but I feel sad about the English weather, of course. And so I got up to lots of things in Australia. Like I think I spoke last time about seeing Gaga, but then I also went swimming and met up with friends and had a nice time.
Apologies, we did promise our viewers that you were going to find a more tropical looking location for this episode, but we actually didn't end up recording another episode while you were in Australia, so I'm afraid that we'll just have to wait until you move back to Australia later this next year.
And what have you been doing while I was in Australia? What's your latest news?
Well, as you know, Christmas came and went, and I don't celebrate Christmas. I just try and sort of ignore it as much as I humanly can. I did have a nice long walk. I filed my taxes and I ate some nice food. And yeah, just tried to ignore all the the Christmas craziness, which just, yeah.
Does your like anyone that you hang out with celebrate Christmas? Like people like wish you Merry Christmas?
Everybody I know, except like a handful of people, like less than I can count on one hand. No, that's not right, is it? Is that the right expression? But very, very few people don't celebrate Christmas. It seems like the rest of the world does. But I just try and hide from the world as much as I can, more than normal.
Well, my thing when people say Merry Christmas to me is I don't want to say Merry Christmas back to people because I don't share that sentiment. So I just say thank you, which sounds a little rude or passive aggressive in some tones, but I try and say it as politely as possible. So, what do you say if somebody says Merry Christmas to you?
I don't know. It depends how I'm feeling. I might just say thanks, same to you, whatever. Like, say have a lovely festive season, have a lovely holiday, have a lovely break from work. Merry Ludicrousmas, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't have a standard response.
Okay, well, happy Easter to you too. But
I am actually looking forward to Easter only because of the return of the Mummy Meeg's eggs, chocolate eggs.
I mean, in Easter last year, when we were both in the deep throes of addiction to speckled eggs. But they're not even called speckled eggs.
No, they're not.
We just called them that.
Chocky eggs or something? Chicky eggs? I don't know.
Chicky, maybe. So while I was away and we were meant to be recording, but we didn't, there was a bit of a pop music emergency, for me anyway. You might not feel as excited about it, but one of the common topics on this podcast is talking about Kylie Minogue and Danny Minogue, the Minogue sisters, like you said in the intro. Kylie Minogue had released a Christmas song, and it's not her finest moment. Have you heard it?
Yes, XMAS you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
But weirdly, I can't play it on my Spotify. Do you know why?
It is an Amazon exclusive.
Oh,
and
I see.
So, and what's weird about this song, it's obviously designed to be like a modern hit, like it's got a dance to it. So it's a lot of people were recreating it on TikTok and social media, doing the dance. So it's kind of like a modern version of YMCA. It's got this.
But hang on, I'm confused. Is it a new release from her, or was it an
Yes.
old song? I thought it was an old song from her Christmas album, like
No.
whatever, 4 years ago.
No, so
No?
she had a Christmas album that came out quite a few years ago, and
Hmm.
they've rejuvenated it by adding some new tracks to it.
I see.
And
Okay.
so there's the old stuff on it, like 100 Degrees, where
Hmm.
there's that
With Danny.
Danny Minogue. There's another song called Hot in December, which is actually a really good pop song. But this song
Doesn't
was,
she do a duet with James Corden on it? The Yazoo song?
well, that's not on it. I don't know what's happening, but it's not on it anymore. I'm not sure why.
That was on the original one, though, wasn't it?
I think so, but maybe she's had a couple of Christmas albums. So
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
this song was released as an Amazon exclusive, so you could only get it through Amazon. And what's amazing about that is it still managed to go to number one in the UK without any streaming support from Spotify, and it is the first song that has been released exclusively through Amazon that has gone to number one in the UK.
But do TikTok plays count towards the charts these days in the UK?
I'm not sure if they do, but what she did and what her record company did was release some not limited edition, a lot of physical variants of the song, like 12-inch records or picture discs. And she
Okay.
did a pop-up shop in West London somewhere, or Battersea, I think. And she went and, I suppose, met people and
Oh,
met the fans.
yeah. Now that you say that, it just clicked. I saw it on someone's Instagram
Yeah.
that she did a PA at the Battersea Power Station.
Yeah. And they were able to shift enough records in a week that the song went to number one, and it beat songs that would traditionally hold the number one spot, like the Mariah Carey song, All I Want for Christmas, or Last Christmas by Wham.
Mhm.
But I thought you might be able to give some insights here because people from the UK might not be familiar with the concept of having the Christmas number one song. Like,
People
what
not
is
from the UK, yeah.
what did I say?
I think you said people from the UK,
Well, maybe that
but
as well, if they're a bit simple. But what
well,
does it
I'm from
mean?
the. Well, I don't know. I didn't know if it was still really a thing. I mean, when I was younger, in the 90s, in the late 80s and 90s, when I was a teenager, it was such a big deal. Like I used to follow the charts, and obviously having a Christmas number one seemed like such a feather in your cap sort of thing for an artist.
Yeah.
And many artists really chased that. So many artists released music which and I find it, really fascinating that there even is a genre of Christmas music. I mean, there are obviously Christmas carols, traditional Christmas carols,
Yeah.
but I find it really interesting that pop music does have a sort of subgenre, if you like, of Christmas music, and many artists pander to that and release albums and singles to
Well,
try and get that.
we just mentioned Mariah and Wham.
Hmm.
What other Christmas songs? They don't have to be Christmas number ones, but what other big pop songs from history or your life that you can think of that fall into that category of song, like they are Christmas songs?
Well, in the UK, the obvious ones, my generation and maybe those a bit older, were Cliff Richard. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he always seemed to have some Christmas number one every few years.
Yeah.
Um, I Will Always Love You, the Whitney Houston cover of the Dolly song, that was a Christmas number one.
What's that?
That was number one for about 2.5 months. I mean, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous. But the sort of, yeah, it was something that artists really chased. Um, and it's weird because even though, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I don't celebrate Christmas. Obviously, when I was younger, I did. But even in more recent years, when I stopped really celebrating Christmas, I do still love um, some Christmas music. I don't know what it is. I don't know what your thoughts are about it.
Well,
But,
what would be your favorite Christmas song, or have you got a few that spring to mind that you don't mind listening to?
well, it's, Cyndi Lauper has a Christmas album,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, Have a Nice Life or something.
Yeah.
And there are songs on that which I don't even necessarily know whether she originally wrote them and released them at Christmas time, but she's got songs like Feels Like Christmas, um, Home on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they're great songs, and I think they really do tap into that sort of, what's that Scandinavian term that people use? Is it higgy?
I
That sort of like homey, warm, fuzzy feeling.
getting
Um,
higgy with it.
Getting higgy with it. Um, so yeah, even though I don't celebrate Christmas, I do still quite like the idea of it when it's done well.
What do you think? Are there certain elements of a track or a pop song that make it a good Christmas song? Like, what elements does it need to have?
Well, you need to have some bells.
Okay.
I think it's often around. I don't know. It's weird, actually, isn't it? Like, oddly, it seems to be around sort of heartbreak
Mm-hmm.
or longing, yearning, missing somebody. Um, and I mean, that's one of the reasons why I have such a problem with Christmas. Like, I feel like there's such a societal expectation of it being a certain way, like being with
Yeah.
loved one, being in a relationship, being with having a good relationship with your family, being all together,
Yeah.
etc. And that's why I think there are so many like mental health crises around Christmas and New Year's. You know,
Yeah. The
it's
pressure is on people to either, or it makes it feel more pronounced if
yeah,
you don't have those things in your life.
yeah, like um people um unaliving themselves really spikes around Christmas and New Year because there is so much pressure and expectation
Yeah.
from society that, you know, you should be surrounded by loved ones and blah blah blah. um
Yeah.
and I suppose Christmas music does try and tap into that warm fuzzy feeling, or the lack of it, the want or desire for it.
Well, I suppose a perfect example of going to the more melancholy is the Amy Mann Christmas album.
Yeah, yeah. And that really, I mean, leans into it. I hate to use the term leans in because that's such a Brene Brown fucking reference. But Amy Mann does really lean into that
Yeah.
melancholy Christmas nostalgia, I
But
suppose.
getting back to Kylie quickly,
Mm-hmm.
can you even believe, like you go back to when you first knew of Kylie, that if somebody had told you in, what is it, nearly 40 years later,
Well, she released her first album
88,
in
87,
'87. Yeah,
87. So it's almost 40
48
years.
years.
No, nearly 40
38,
years.
38 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have believed that she would have had this level of longevity of where she was able, even if it was with a bit of trickery or marketing ploys, would she be able to have a number one song nearly 40 years later?
Yeah, it does. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what my younger self would have thought at that point. But it
Does
is
it
quite
feel
remarkable.
impressive?
It's
Does it feel
impressive. It's
impressive?
quite remarkable, I think.
And I was talking to our friend Derek in Australia, and we were talking about Kylie, and I mean, this was her first number one song since 2003 in the UK. Like, she
Mhm.
hasn't had a number one song since that song "Slow." And we were talking about when we were young, we used to think that she was sort of like copying Madonna or coming after Madonna, like Madonna was the old school. But when we look back on it now in hindsight, they weren't that far apart when they exploded onto the scene. Like, Kylie was only a couple of years after Madonna becoming a
Mhm.
global superstar,
Mhm.
and they're really contemporaries, aren't they? Like, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I don't want to be too sort of shady about Kylie, but I do think that her very early in her career, while she was still trying to carve out her own identity in the pop landscape, I do think she did a lot of things that were very directly informed by Madonna.
Yeah.
And Madonna herself is also, you know, a vampire, as Lady Miss Keir
Uh-huh.
described her. But she's somebody who also sort of cherry picks things from pop culture and
Yeah.
underground culture and queer culture and puts them in the mainstream. And I think Kylie maybe was still trying to sort of find her identity. I mean, it's so easy to judge, isn't it, from our like 40/50 something year old perspectives.
Yeah.
But
Well,
God, if I, in my 20s, if I had to like try and forge a public image, God knows what I would have done.
Well, I mean, I think we could give flowers to Kylie. Not that she needs our congratulations, but I think it's a remarkable achievement. And
It is.
it might seem like a bit of trickery doing it with a Christmas song, but a hit's a hit. And I'm really quite blown away by the success that she still has. And the album went to #1 as well. But Kylie's from Australia, and just to pivot, going to our segment about politics, because we often talk about politics
Mm,
and the state of the world. When I was in Australia, there was quite a tragic piece of news that occurred, and that
mm.
was the shooting or the terrorist attack in Sydney and Bondi at Bondi Beach. What did you hear about that while I was away? I mean, it must have been
Um,
big news, right?
it was, yeah, it was big news. It was all over the news channels here, and yeah, there's a lot I could say, but it was very sad that any one group would be targeted in a terrorist attack like that. Um, I can't imagine what it was like in Australia. I mean, it's the middle of summer there. It's this time where everybody is sort of out enjoying the, incredible Australian landscapes and beaches and lifestyle, the
Yeah.
outdoor lifestyle. Um, and
Well, one thing that was really, yeah, quite, I don't know if ironic is, I don't know what term I need to use, but our friend Stephen was visiting Australia. And a few days before the Bondi incident, Stephen and I were talking about the fact that he lives in the USA and
Mhm.
how unsafe it felt. And we both were reflecting on how much better life would be if we lived in Australia, because Australia feels like such a safe place and
Mm.
nothing bad really
And
happens.
there are no mass shootings and stuff
No,
like
and
that.
we were actually referring to mass shootings,
Mm.
and within 48 hours that had happened, and so it felt quite I don't know I don't even know how it felt, but it just felt I mean,
Yeah.
not something ridiculous like we were tempting fate or something,
Yeah.
but then even in hindsight of that, those sorts of things rarely happen in Australia.
Hmm.
Like, they happen every day or a few times a
And,
week in the US.
and there's a reason for that, isn't there? Like, do you want to tell our viewers and listeners the history of gun control and mass shootings in
Well,
Australia?
I don't know the dates, but it would just probably take a quick Google search if anyone was keen. But um, a few decades ago, there was a mass shooting at a tourist spot in Australia. And when that happened, there were sweeping gun reform laws put into place, which limited, very, very strictly limited the amount of guns that could be held by members of the public. And I actually thought all guns, apart from guns for farming, were
Mm.
outlawed. But I found out on this trip that people can still have guns. It's just
Mm.
extremely limited.
Yeah, I was
And
surprised because I thought that too. I was like, how did they even get guns? That was my first initial reaction to the shooting
yeah,
because I
and
thought
people
they
in
were
Australia
outlawed.
can have guns as members of gun clubs. Like, it's like a hobby thing you can do. So I
Hmm.
found that really surprising. But of course, the number of guns in Australia is minuscule compared to other countries, in
Because the
mostly
government
the
did a
US.
buyback scheme after was it in Tasmania that mass shooting, the
I
one,
think so. I think
but
so.
they
I
did
mean, that's
the federal government did a buyback scheme for firearms, and so yeah, the amount of guns in private hands in Australia was very, very, very low.
yeah.
Um,
What
but
what's quite alarming in the wake of this violent attack is how the narrative is being used to. Now, this might be a bit problematic for the pod, but how it has been used to further support the Israel. I can't even say this without it sounding like maybe
No,
a little bit
there's
conspiratorial.
no, but there is a discussion to be had, and it would be very easy for somebody to misconstrue what I'm about to say as a condoning of the mass shooting, which absolutely positively was not. I condemn anything like that. But you can't look at the targeting of a group of Jewish people um, without looking at the broader socio-political context in which Judaism and Jewish people are viewed in society
Yeah.
at the moment. And it obviously doesn't mean that I think anyone should be shot, but
No.
it cannot be disregarded that Israel's military attacks and the decimation of people in Gaza and Palestinian people um, will not have consequences that go beyond the borders of Israel and
Yeah.
Palestine.
Do you think
Um,
it's like you could make a comparison to what happened with American US foreign policy and terrorist attacks against US citizens?
oh yeah,
That, you
absolutely.
know,
Like
and
9/11 and yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. And so, yeah, you're right. But what's alarming in Australia is that there's sort of this clampdown on protest or people speaking up against Israel policy against Palestinians and using that this attack as a justification of silencing protest, which
Mhm.
feels very worrying, similar to what's happened here in the UK, people being arrested for supporting Palestine action
Mhm.
and um, speaking up, and so it's almost like you can in the UK you can criticize the UK government and not be arrested, but if you publicly criticize and use certain words to protest or speak out against Israel, you will be arrested in the UK. It's a very, very peculiar situation we
Mhm.
find ourselves in this day
Mhm.
and age.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah. It was very sad. I it was the stuff of conspiracy theories that
Hmm.
the Australian man who intervened and actually wrestled the gun off one of the perpetrators was I believe, a Muslim man,
Yeah, Ahmed. I'm
Ahmed
not
Al
sure if I
Ahmed.
pronounce it correctly, Ahmed Al Ahmed,
Yeah,
but people raised a lot of money in support of him because he survived after being shot. And
yeah.
last time I saw, they'd raised over 2.5 million Australian dollars
Hmm.
for him and his
Hmm.
family to help cover his expenses.
Yeah.
Um, so
Aus-
Australia is a weird place because it does have a lot of institutionalized racism, but
I was
there
just going
is
to say that, like, race in Australia is such, and I think unless you've been there and lived there and experienced it, it's really hard to understand how oh, I'm trying to think of a nice way of putting it, but just how regressive Australian politics are.
yeah.
And I don't mean like necessarily sort of politics in Parliament. I mean just sort of everyday people in Australia and their concepts of uh, structures of power and institutionalized racism and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. Now, we probably don't have a lot of time this week to dive into this topic, but I feel like it wouldn't be um, correct for us not to at least mention it and share some thoughts. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Epstein files and what's been going on with this release of all of these documents.
I would rather hear your thoughts, just because I've been aware of it. Obviously, it's impossible to ignore, but I'm also just a bit fatigued about how politicized it's become. And I think the saddest thing about it is that there were so many victims of Epstein and the vile people that he associated with, and they are almost lost and forgotten. I mean, they are literally redacted in some of these images, which is as it should be. They shouldn't have their faces and their lives exposed to the world unless they want them to be. But it's sad to me that there were underage women who were
Also known as children.
children. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There were children who were traded and sold, or it was a horribly, horribly abusive situation, and so much attention has gone on people like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, of course, himself, and Ghislaine Maxwell, and the victims barely get a mention in most of the coverage these days.
Well, what's alarming about and very eye-opening about these redacted documents that people have actually been able to share, because even the blacked out portions of the documents, they worked out that if you just copied and pasted it into another document, you could read the full thing. Like the Department of Justice made a mistake with the software they used, and they didn't even cover it up properly. So you can see
Well, I
Donald
mean,
Trump's name all through it.
that sounds like it wasn't necessarily, it was an intentional mistake, perhaps. I mean, that's very
Well,
conspiratorial, but I
yeah.
mean, it seems somewhat unlikely that they wouldn't have known that was the case.
Yeah, but yeah, what's really alarming about this is how outrageous the content of these documents are. The sheer scope of how many documents there are. There's like 1 million documents. And what's really sobering is, it's shocking, and there's so much evidence and there's so much anecdotal evidence, and nothing will happen. It feels like nothing will happen to any of
Yeah.
these powerful
No.
people. And
I mean,
that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that nothing will happen.
Yeah, and also the fact that Jeffrey Epstein is now dead, and whether we will ever find out the truth about how that happened.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows whether he took his own life or was bumped off.
Well, this is probably a story that we can recap in a future episode when more evidence or more news comes to light. But just to wrap up this episode, I wanted to just quickly chat in our little segment about vegan stuff, because we often talk about vegan things. If you're new to this podcast or you just haven't been paying attention, Josh and I, we're both vegan, which means we don't eat, wear, or I don't know, consume entertainment that features animals or animal byproducts to the best of our ability. I had this vegan product in Australia that I couldn't believe. There's a famous Australian ice cream. I suppose in the UK you'd call it an ice lolly. It's called Golden Gaytime, which is the best name for a snack in the history of the world.
Great name.
Golden Gaytime. And it's back in the day when I was a child and I would eat the non-vegan version. It was ice cream on a stick that was covered in this caramelized biscuit crumbs. And it had a golden look to it, and it was a caramelly taste. You never had one, did you, before you went vegan?
No.
So they're iconic ice cream. I was in the supermarket in Australia last week, and I saw that there is a vegan version of a Golden Gaytime. And
Did you buy it?
Yes, and I ate it, and it was delicious. And it probably was the most excited I've ever been to see a vegan product in the supermarket. It was absolutely
So it's like
amazing.
vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, vanilla ice cream, but with a little bit of different flavored ice cream around the vanilla ice cream with caramel biscuit around the outside. This was so exciting to me because when I was a child, this was one of my favorite things, and it was quite expensive when I was a child, so it was a real treat to have. Is there anything from your childhood that you wish there would be a vegan version of? Now, as a vegan, do you feel like you're missing out on something? What was your favorite thing to eat when you were a kid?
Well, funnily enough, it's actually a Christmas food. It's not, probably not exclusively a Christmas food, but I always associate it with Christmas. And it was Lebkuchen. And I don't know if there is an English name for that, but these are German, I think mostly German, maybe a bit Austrian, Swiss, perhaps. I don't know. But in my mind, they're a German little mini sort of, I wouldn't say they're a biscuit, but they're like a tiny little mini gingerbread cookie, I suppose. and they
Yep.
often have a filling of either apricot jam or cherry jam, and they'll either be dusted in icing sugar or coated in chocolate. And my grandma used to buy them. My grandma was a Jewish German woman, but obviously lived in the UK when I was a child, and she would buy them. And I remember one year I was talking to our friends Vanessa and Nani, who ran the Essential Vegan cafe and restaurant, and
Yep.
um, she made them. She found
Oh,
recipes and
lovely.
she
Yeah.
she made them. And I remember when she sold them at the Hackney Downs Vegan Market that we used to run, and
Yeah.
oh, they were so good. And there have been over the years, I think one year, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago or more, Lidl was selling a vegan
Yes.
version of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was intentionally vegan. I think it just was like one of these accidentally vegan products. And they were
Yeah.
so good. But I've not been able to find them. And of course, now I have the added annoyance of being gluten free. I think
Well,
I've given up. But if
yeah,
somebody could,
finding a vegan and gluten-free Lebkuchen
yeah,
would be
good luck, babe.
almost impossible. But
Hmm.
I did buy a pack last year in that vegan grocery store in Paris.
Oh, you
But
did.
they weren't gluten-free, but they were vegan and they were delicious.
I mean,
So
if I saw vegan Lebkuchen that weren't gluten free, I probably would break my no gluten rule and suffer the consequences. Although saying that, I am having to give up sugar in the new year. And I hate New Year's resolutions, but my sugar consumption has gone out of control. So I need some kind of
yeah,
reason
well,
to stop. So,
I got seriously involved with these vegan jelly beans in Australia that they're called glucose jelly beans, and they're
oh, yeah.
jumbo-sized jelly beans. You buy them in pharmacies and chemists
Why
for some
are they?
reason, like that,
Yeah, I was going to say,
like they're a
why?
health food, and they're iconic. They've been
For
they're another
who?
iconic thing from my childhood. Like you'd get them like if you had to go to the pharmacy for medicine, you'd get them as a treat. You go, oh, I'm getting some because they're only
But
sold in the pharmacy.
yeah,
You
but
can't
why
buy them
is that?
anywhere
Is it
else.
for like if people have diabetes and they suddenly need
Maybe,
to like raise their blood sugar level or something?
maybe,
Because I mean
but of
they are
course,
purely just
yeah,
sweets, candy, jelly
yeah.
beans. Yeah.
But my sister Michelle's buying packets of them and eating them, but she doesn't like the black ones, which have quite an aniseedy flavor to them. So she
Mm-hmm.
pulls them out and was giving them to me in a bowl, and I was just eating them like popping them like they were grapes or something, and oh, they're just incredible. So yeah, I did go a little bit overboard with the sugar consumption because of the glucose jelly beans.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, Christmas is an excuse, I think, to eat a lot of like food that you wouldn't necessarily eat at other times of the year.
well, I
Even
don't
though I
even
don't,
have Christmas. Yeah, I don't
no,
have
even though I don't
Christmas as an
celebrate
excuse.
Christmas, but I still, for some, on Christmas Day, for example, I had a meal that I would never normally cook, and that's roasted vegetables with vegan stuffing balls and vegan gravy. Can't remember if I had any. Oh, I bought this vile thing from Morrison's. It was a gluten-free mushroom chestnut crown. It was so
Yeah.
revolting.
The word
Um,
crown, like related to a meat product or an alternative meat product,
yeah,
crown, like what does that mean? Like I've
yeah. I
seen
don't know.
turkey crown in the supermarket. Like what is a turkey crown?
Yeah, I don't.
Is it like it's
I've
a
never
butthole or
eaten
something?
in a turkey sphincter. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
But
really
we went
revolting.
for on Christmas Day. It wasn't a Christmas dinner, but I went with Michelle, Pete, and Kate to a vegan Thai restaurant in Clayfield
Mm.
in the northern suburbs of Brisbane,
Hmm.
and the food was amazing. It's called Utong, and the restaurant, and it was so good. It was like that proper old school Thai vegan restaurant with like vegan drumsticks and
Oh,
fried
nice,
rice and pad
nice.
thai and like noodle
There's a
soup.
new vegan place on the North End Road in Fulham that
Hmm.
you and I were talking about earlier that we want to try, but we're
Yeah,
not. I don't know if it's. I think we've established it's perhaps not an eat-in restaurant. It's just a takeaway delivery place, but it's called Oriental Vegan,
yeah.
and a lot of it is
Well,
gluten-free, which is very exciting for me. So that's something I want to check out in the next couple of weeks.
And then also, I want to go in and see the new Club Mexicana location.
Oh,
So
where's that?
Club Mexic, they've opened a location in a food hall on Leicester Square. So it's really exciting to have something
Mm.
so central, because there's actually not a lot of vegan stuff in the West End, is there?
No, no, these days it's not. I mean, there's lots
Yeah,
of vegan options in non-vegan restaurants, but to find an
yeah.
exclusively vegan place,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just a food hall with maybe about 15 food traders or so.
Who are Club
And
Mex? Do you want to, for people not familiar with them, do you want to just
well, Club
explain who they
Mexicana
are?
is a restaurant chain that's 100% vegan, and it's kind of like a Tex-Mex style of cuisine, including burritos, tacos, and nachos. And they started about 10 years ago in London, and they've had various restaurants, and they did pop-up stalls. They did market stalls. They traded at a few of our events, including our weekly market and our beer festivals that we used to run. And now they have a handful of locations, mostly inside food halls. And so they've got one in Liverpool Street, uh, this one in Leicester Square, one in Soho, Carnaby Street, one in Mayfair, and I don't know where else they are,
Do
but
they still have
there
that
are
one in Seven Dials?
no, that's not there anymore.
Okay.
So they are queer founded, queer women founded business, and they are very successful. They're one of the most loved vegan like brands, restaurant brands in the UK, and yeah,
What was that?
I like
What
their
was
food.
that special dish when we had the Hackney Downs vegan market, or maybe it was at one of the beer fests, and you were getting them to make you like an off the menu special, and it had like it was like a burrito. You were getting them to make you a burrito, but inside was like a deep fried vegan cheese stick. And you
Oh
gave it
yeah,
a
I can't
name. Was it
really
like
remember.
the fingerito or something? Like,
The
do you remember?
Fingerito,
You gave it
yeah,
some sort of comical name.
yeah.
But I don't know
Freddie
if
got
that.
fingered.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, their food is really tasty.
So
And
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, just to finish the episode this week, I would like to remind people, if they don't know, if you watch this in time, you can come along to a New Year's Eve party that Josh and I are running together, along with our friend James. And I've got gnats in here now. I think they've come through
oh,
the camera from your
don't
room into my
don't
room.
get me started. That's for next week's episode. But yeah, go on.
Okay, so we're running this New Year's Eve party at Caramel, which is a vegan restaurant and venue in Wood Green in North London. And Josh is running karaoke. Our friend James, who owns a vegan shoe store and boutique called The Third Estate, he'll be DJing. Our friend Antonio will be running a board games room, and I will be being surly on the door, giving wristbands and trying to take money from people. So
You're
if you
not
want
going
to
to
come
be
along,
festive and welcoming.
I will be. You know me. I'm the life of the party. I'm the hostess with the mostest, you might say. And you come along, have fun. Tickets are on sale, £15 in advance or £20 on the door. If you want to come along to that, that would be really fun. Also, come along to the open mic. The open mic's been going for over 3 years now. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, 3.5.
It happens on the final Sunday of every month, unless something weird happens, like a public holiday. And you can come along and perform, or come along and be an audience member. And we try and have a raffle every month as well, so you can come and win prizes.
So the
And
next one will be the Sunday, the 25th of January.
yeah,
And you're welcome. Anyone is welcome to come and be in the audience. We do reserve the stage for queer performers. So as long as you identify as part of the queer community, you're welcome to come perform. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to come and watch. I don't know if we have time to go into it now, but I did have a bit of a to-do with somebody recently who said that that was discriminatory, and
yeah.
I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I channeled my inner...
Who said this?
Well, I'm not going to name them, but it was a
Say their
performer who...
names.
Well, I actually don't remember their name, but they're a queer performer, and they just wrote me this very long email which said about how they disagreed with the policy and they were boycotting the event because they didn't agree with it. Anyway, I I channeled my inner Gwyneth Paltrow, and I just replied to their email. I just said, I wish you well. So
That's very nice.
it was very Gwyneth.
I
Gwyneth or Gwyneth? Gwyneth.
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 I don't know who needs it explained to them and why they need it explained to them that queer spaces are important and
Oh,
queer
I know.
self-determination. I mean, I'm not sure. It's not like you were saying you were in a Weatherspoons and you were telling anyone queer to leave. Look, this is a queer venue and a queer event designed to champion and give safe space to queer performers who are othered from other mainstream places.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us on your personal journey or anything coming up this week?
My personal journey? No, I'm waiting for you to watch the last, well, not the last, but the next installment of Stranger Things. There is going to be one more episode on New Year's Day, but I'm waiting for you to watch it because there's lots of queer coding in it that I want to discuss with you. But I know that you're waiting for Hill to get back from Mexico before you watch. So
yeah,
that's
okay. Well, I'm currently giving myself nightmares by marathon watching the Ed Gein series on Netflix about the serial killer Ed Gein. It's absolutely horrific. It's a Ryan Murphy show, and so of course it's ridiculous. So anyway, that's what I'm currently watching. But I will get on to Stranger Things next week.
I do want to see that new Timothée Chalamet film, the name of which I can't remember, only because I just found out that Sandra Bernhard has a cameo in it. So I'm keen to see that, but may or may not go to the cinema to see it.
Well, anyway, thanks to everyone for joining us on this episode. It'd be great if you can subscribe to this whatever channel you're listening to or whatever platform you're listening to. Leave a thumbs up or a like watching, and leave a comment. Give us some feedback. Tell us what favorite item from your childhood you would like to see veganized. Tell us your favorite vegan restaurants or anything that we should talk about.
Your favorite Christmas number ones.
Oh yeah, I really want to know. How proud of you about Kylie having the longevity that she's had, or do you not care at all? Tell us. We can't wait to hear.
And to take us out, Sean, can you actually do the XMAS dance? I've not actually watched a single TikTok video of it, so I've got no idea. Like, is it like sort of like X?
Yeah, X, M,
A, and then what's the S?
And then S is like this. And for anyone watching, you'll have to go to YouTube. Sorry, anyone listening, you'll have to go to YouTube to see, or Spotify video. But anyway, there's also a way she does it with her hands as well during the video when she's not doing the full dance move. She does it, and the S is by putting her two fingers together.
Well, that's British. That's BSL for S, isn't it?
Okay, so maybe the one she does with her hands is sign language. I'm not sure. Anyway, thanks, Kylie, for seeing us out at the end of the year. And we will be back next week, maybe, with an episode. And
next year, mate. Next year, in fact, we'll be back.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yes.
But maybe we'll see you on the dance floor at the New Year's Eve party. If not, we'll be back another time. And that's everything. So thanks for joining us. Okay. Any last words?
No, that's all. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.